Ocoee approves a big mixed-use development. The Garden Theater is struggling. A family fighting cancer and a house fire needs help. And a historic cemetery in Oakland, where the bodies of freed slaves were buried, is honored. The date is July 28th, 2022. We're going to go through these stories and more. Welcome to West Orange on the Go. My name is Austin Arthur, and this is where we do local news and comment. And when I say local news, I mean hyper-local. West Orange, this is your news. We begin in 10 seconds.
You're listening to West Orange on the Go. Brought to you by the West Orange Times and Observer. Hosted by Austin Arthur. West Orange on the Go.
The Ocoee City Commission approved unanimously the construction of a mixed-use development that will be located on the west side of Ocoee-Popka Road and the north side of State Road 429. Now, this will be located right near where they will be putting the new Orange Technical College West Side campus. As you know, they are relocating that from its current East Winter Garden location on Story Road. And on over to Winter Garden, the Garden Theater has announced yet another upcoming production is canceled. The Winter Garden-based theater took to Facebook to announce this news on Monday, July 25th. Now, the post said in part, quote, "We are working to make sure that our in-house strategic plan and culture are healthy and viable, and we want to be able to use this time to ensure that we can move forward in a positive manner and showcase our theater and productions with the quality the community has come to expect," end quote. The theater recently canceled another production, which was A Bronx Tale. At the end of June, they did that. Now, there has been some, I guess you could say, internal disputes, at least as I understand it from the outside here, within the organization between staff and leadership. You know, there was leaders that resigned over it. But I was at a city hall meeting, Winter Garden, and a couple of the staff members came up and spoke about it. I just hope that they get it together over there. I hope that everything works out. That is a historical piece of our community in Winter Garden. You know, it was a historical theater, and it went away for a long time. And a lot of good folks worked really hard to bring it back. So I hope that it doesn't go away again. I hope that this all works out. Okay, let's go to the next story. Well, one morning while Jackie was eating breakfast, about 6 weeks ago, and she was eating breakfast and suddenly she couldn't see. Everything went white. Unable to walk or think clearly, she managed to call on her teenage daughter. An emergency trip to the hospital determined that she had a tumor growing on her spine, and it was putting pressure on 2 other tumors in her brain. Now, they immediately began radiation, but this is just one of several heartbreaking hands Jackie and Gil Martinez have been dealt with in recent years. She has survived breast cancer 3 times since 2009. It is now metastasized to her brain. But tragedy has struck once again just last week when a kitchen fire partially gutted the house the Martinez family has called home since 2008. The kitchen and living room are a total loss, and smoke and water has damaged much of the rest of the house. The Martinez family is awaiting an insurance assessment and response from a restoration company. Meanwhile, they have been staying with family and friends and living out of duffel bags. Now, as mentioned, all of this with Jackie Martinez going through cancer treatments. She has been battling that cancer, as I said, since 2009. Now, in 2009, it was breast cancer and resulted in a mastectomy. And it was gone until 2017. That's when it returned. But now, as mentioned, it has metastasized to her brain. A close friend named Debbie said, quote, Jackie is exhausted mentally and physically, but her faith in God is keeping her going. This beautiful family still has so many needs. End quote. Now, Jackie of herself said, quote, I don't even have the energy to focus on me, but if I'm not strong enough, I can't be there for my family. I just want to be in a place where if I don't feel well, I can just go lay down and relax. I have to focus on getting better, getting stronger. It's going to be a long journey. And if you can help on this journey, perhaps you can donate something to Jackie and her family. We will place the donation link in the description. Okay, so, as I always say, and as I pointed out heavily in last week's program, if you can't give, consider praying. If you can give, consider giving, and consider praying. Now, for those of you who are interested in this sort of thing, tonight is going to be the West Orange Chamber of Commerce Hobnob. That's a big event where people who are running for office in this current election season will attend. They'll do a straw poll. You can meet the candidates. It's a good opportunity, but I hear it's sold out. So if you didn't get your tickets yet, unfortunately, it doesn't look like you'll be able to attend unless maybe you know somebody that might have extra tickets. But it's going to be a good event. I will be present. I like to keep an eye on this sort of stuff. Speaking of which, there's a lot coming out of the Orange County Commission right now. I don't have a story on it yet, but I think we probably will have a story soon. A lot of talk about rent stabilization, and we might need to get into that. There's a couple different perspectives that are out there. But just a lot going on in West Orange County, and really just Orange County generally, including the Pure Cycle issue, which I've talked about the last two programs. If you didn't hear it, I really encourage you to click back a couple episodes. This is a very important intrusion into our community that we need to all be aware of. It sets a standard that if you're going to let a company like this come in and encroach on our West Orange County environment, our way of living, and right here in East Winter Garden next to homes, well, it is a big deal. And it could come to Oakland, it could come to Ocoee, Windermere, our nice unincorporated areas in West Orange. So we got to pay attention, and I will be discussing it more. Some things are going on behind the scenes, some movements. So I will keep you posted on that. All right, let me go into this next. In this week's paper, and in every paper, they have a section sponsored by the Winter Garden Heritage Foundation, where they'll put a little old clipping or maybe some other kind of old artifact, some history piece. It's always a great section, and today I wanted to highlight it. This piece was pretty neat. It's an old postcard. Now the section reads, "It was 115 years ago, on July 28th, 1907, Gladius Dillard of Winter Garden," now you might recognize that name, Dillard, "Gladius Dillard of Winter Garden mailed this postcard to Gladius Tilden of Tildenville." You can see the image in this week's paper, and you can actually see her handwriting, writing it on there, the note to her friend. And the note says, 115 years ago, "Hello, Gladius. I guess you are having a fine time there. I received your card while in Jacksonville. There is nothing new here. Mary Fowler has typhoid fever." Now, some of you might know Fowler's Grove. It reads on, "Hope it will not be too serious. Winter Garden has got a nice sidewalk and will soon have a brick store." Now, the store she's referring to might be the one that rose near the corner of Main and Plant Streets after a fire leveled the wooden shops located there. Now, there was two big fires in Winter Garden history, and after the second one, they said, forget this. Forget the wooden things. We're not building wooden structures anymore. We're going to go ahead with brick. And that's where you get that iconic brick there, So pretty neat. Okay, so you should go on down to the Winter Garden Heritage Museum and check it out. They got a great We've Got Mail display there, and that'll be up until August 31st. And they've always got something great. So whenever you're down there, bring the kids, bring the family. They are preserving our history, not just in Winter Garden, but really West Orange history generally. Okay, in some education news here, the Orange County Sheriff's Office is in need of school crossing guards, particularly in Horizon West and Dr. Phillips. All right, so if you know somebody that might be interested in doing that, check it out with the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Horizon West. Yes, I have been, thinking of Horizon West a lot lately. It's been on my mind. I think I need to get down there more. Wonderful community, a growing community, part of the West Orange family. I got a couple good friends down there. I might have to talk to them about, getting to know that community more. A great community that I want to be more active in. All right. Now, you know what I'm active in? I'm active in Foundation Academy. That's my daughter's school. We're about to get ready to bring her back onto school. No more late nights for this one. She's going to have school soon in session. At Foundation Academy, it's really at this point a historical school in a way. I mean, it's just been there since 1958. I mean, that's a long time. But they have the greatest values and principles. To me, they align perfectly. And like I always say, this is an important topic. Now more than ever, there's a lot of different ways of thinking out there. Now, I'm not to say who's right or wrong necessarily, but I am to say who's right or wrong for my family. And my family, well, we're traditionalists, so a place like Foundation Academy, we just love it. Their slogan is very important to me. And if you really pay attention to this slogan, it really does say it all. And it's kind of my philosophy on child development. Foundation Academy, where character matters. All right, into the final page. The town of Oakland is moving forward with a project nearly 20 years in the making. The Oakland Historic African American Cemetery, established in 1882, will get the respect town officials say it deserves through a formal preservation and management plan. The cemetery was the resting place of freed slaves and families who migrated to West Orange County following emancipation. Burials were conducted from 1882, when the cemetery was established, until about 1950. Now, after those last burials, the cemetery was practically forgotten and allowed to become overgrown. The cemetery was kind of rediscovered in 2004 when the Florida's Turnpike Authority were at the site to discuss road widening plans. Ground-penetrating radar located the bodies whose grave sites and headstones were buried under decades of weeds, downed trees, debris, and neglect. The town assumed responsibility of the cemetery in 2014. A Boy Scout troop helped clean up the area and built a new entrance off of Oakland Avenue. Now, the report that was conducted stated that this was a Christian cemetery. It is indicated by the spiritual headstone markings and other findings. Now, there are many headstones still viewable, intact, that you can read. They tell a little bit about each person that was laid to rest there. And in the paper, you can go and it tells the stories of these folks who are buried in this cemetery. One example is one Joe Grady. He was born in 1856. Can you imagine? Possibly born into slavery, for all we know. This was before the Emancipation Proclamation and definitely before the 13th Amendment, which was 1865. Well, Joe Grady died in 1919, and the etching indicates that he was a Freemason. 2 small flowers etched into the corners of the marker signify, quote, eternal love, memory,